You there? Ephialtes. May you live forever.
Allah, Yahweh, Bahashim, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rekah HaKadash. I'm back with you with another straight to the point moment, dealing with the tenets and doctrine of life, which is this new covenant, and the gospel that must be preached forth before the time of restitution, aka salvation shall come. And here we are with another sharing of wisdom, a quick straight to the point moment. And the wisdom that's been, just expounded on in these latter days amongst the brethren. See, you can see the true brethren, and I mean that both in context and as a pun intended. You can see the true brethren who understand the things that are being prophesied or the things that are being taught through scripture, because they understand that the second commandment of loving thy neighbor, loving thyself, and the first commandment, loving the Most High God with all thy heart, mind, and soul, is what the initiation of really this new covenant is all about, or reconciliation. All right, it's not necessarily throwing away the things of the old, but it's a reconciliation of us back to that original standard. We are the angels that fell from our first estate because of sin. And now through reconciliation, through the blood of Hamashiach, we have been reconciled back unto God as the sons of God. All right. Book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 22. To the weak became I as weak. So you have those who are weak in faith and those who are weak in carnal nature. So when the apostles walked and the men of Hamashiach, who were covered by his blood, who walked, to the weak they became weak, meaning they appeased to the things of those of the carnality of those men, but in righteousness. To the weak I became weak, that I might gain the weak. See, it's not necessarily about a physical fringe, but according to the law, the fringe is good. So to the weak I became weak. So to the brethren who need to see that fringe, I wear them. I wear the fringe, both inwardly and outwardly. To those who eat meat that are unclean, I become strong because I don't eat the meats that are unclean. And I mean that both carnally and spiritually. So that that brother that sees me and sees his brother and knows that, hey, this brother can do it, I can do it. Because he might have been weak in nature and could not resist the temptation in his own flesh to resist those things that are unclean. So through my standard, or me standing up and walking upright, he may have an example, just as we did in Hamashiach, to do the things that are upright and good to him. And read it again, 1 Corinthians 9 and 22. To the weak I became weak, that I might gain the weak. I am made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. So he didn't say save all, but save some. Because you have those who will still choose a weak nature, both spiritually and carnally, over uprightness. Verse 23, and this I do for the gospel's sake. What? This I do for the gospel's sake. What? This I do for the gospel's sake. See, though grace abound, shall we continue in sin, was the message yesterday. Spirit and flesh, the war between the inward man. So we do this for the gospel's sake. So we walk in the likeness or the like-mannerness or mannerisms of Mashiach, which was lawful or law of the spirit, which pertained literally to the law itself, which was the law of life, those commandments that we always preach. That I might be partaker thereof with you. Know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize. And that goes back to the context of I became all things that I might save some. All right. So run that ye may obtain. So make your calling and election sure. This is why we have to walk in the uprightness. So for brothers teaching that you don't have to teach openly, you don't need to wear fringes, those things are not true. Those things are not law. Nowhere in scripture where it tells us to stop keeping those things which pertain to life. The new covenant And again, I'm going to say this again. When you read and you understand the similitude and wisdom, the new covenant is not really new. It's just a reconciliation of the old. But we have a new understanding or a new life in the spirit because we understand those things that we were shown on tables of stone. Now having those things inwardly through the blood and through the Rikah Hadash, we can walk in those things as upright men. Verse 25, and every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do attain a corruptible crown. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown. So you have some that just do it to just be seen of men. But those who have the spirit, but we, and an incorruptible crown, because we have the spirit. We have the things that we are temperate in all things. We have the true understanding because we walk in the likeness thereof. Let me read it again. Now they that do it to obtain a corruptible crown. So we don't do these things to make us show in the flesh. But we and an incorruptible crown. We do it to obtain an incorruptible crown, meaning our ministry without blame. Let us meditate. Heavy, man. Heavy. Heavy. Heavy, man, heavy. You know, and a lot of brothers starting to understand it, man. You know, even though they received the covenant, you have those who are within this covenant, understanding and all, and choose to do things in strife and contention because they choose to seek preeminence again. Try to enforce something that's not enforced through law, but through their own temptation in their own flesh, in their own spirit. And then you have those who walk and understand the manner in which we shall walk according to the brotherhood, the reconciliation, all right? And this is what's all pertained to the gospel, man. The reconciliation, man. 2 Corinthians 9:26. I therefore so run, not as uncertainly. So you have those who are partaking this thing, not in uncertain awareness, but certainly we understand why we run, why we do the things we do, and why we must keep the ministry blameless. So our fight is not vain. Our work that's been shown is not vain, for we have the spirit within us. So fight I, not as one that beateth the air. And you have those who are in the streets, both not in the part of the new covenant, meaning not of the understanding, and you have those in the new covenant itself that when they speak, it's as though they fight the air, as though their words have no purpose or substance to them. Because they have a worldly mindset or a spiritual lacking thereof, which allows them not to be seasoned with grace and speech. Therefore, they enforce things that are not supposed to be enforced. All right? Not as one that beateth the air, but I keep under my body. So there's a subjection that your body must be kept under. Your carnal flesh must be kept under. And that is by the spirit or law of the spirit. See, this is what we got when we got the new covenant. Understanding the things that of the mind that they rule over the spirit. This is why the kingdom of heaven is within you. Hamashiach was the former example. The apostles were were decent examples as well. And we had men before the apostles that were examples as well of how we should walk in the flesh according to the law of the Spirit. But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection. Subjection to what? The mind. Subjecting yourself to righteousness and what's lawful, and not to unrighteousness and which is unholy. Least that by any means, when I have preached to others. So this is the example of understanding the flesh versus the spirit, and bringing the flesh under the subjection of the law of the Spirit, which I'll get. Least that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself shall be a castaway. So you got to walk and live this thing of what you teach. But you have those who literally are in the new covenant. And I'm not even speaking against men who are not, because they're still the ones that put on a show in the flesh. Therefore, they are the ones that when they preach, it's like beating the air. I'm talking about men who are in this new covenant understanding, have the mindset, they have withdrawn themselves to their own private chambers, which I brought out yesterday. They have removed themselves, not by spirit, but by their own lustful desire, have removed themselves, and don't carry in the manner in which we should be exemplifying this gospel, man. They don't. Not wanting to bear the shame. But the scriptures tell us that we should not be ashamed, nor confounded. So they are a work against themselves, work in vain. But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, least that by any means, when I have preached to others. You can't even preach to others, if you're not an example to others. I myself become a castaway. What? I myself should be a castaway. What? I myself should be a castaway. Heavy, man. Heavy. Let us meditate. Let us meditate, man. This is heavy, man. Heavy, man. Heavy. See, we have a crown that we must hold to. And that crown is exemplified through the spirit and the flesh. Heavy, man. This is just a straight to the point moment, man. Sharing the wisdom. You know, and to the brothers that starting to understand there's a brotherhood that we all work together in a multitude of counselors. Let me grab that, man. So you need that brotherhood or that counselship amongst the brethren that agree. Because wherever two or more agree, he's in the midst of thee, man. This is heavy, man. Other ministers of New Covenant, Shalom Abba, Kwame Carr, all them brothers, War, Fight on the Highways, Elijah, all those brothers, man. See, there's a multitude of counsels, man. All right, the book of Proverbs 11:14, where no counsel is, the people fall, but in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. And so there's a safety net within the multitude of counselors. Why? Because we have that safety within who? Hamashiach. He's in the midst of us, man, who gather and agree. And we exemplify the measure of the second commandment. We truly exemplify that. Though we may have differences here, but we understand the base concept of brotherhood. And within the multitude of that counsels, we can go into scripture and correct one another, whether it be through video or actually speaking on the phone, man. Some of us don't understand it and therefore have removed themselves and have beautified themselves. See, you are the ones that broaden your phylacteries, if you understand the context of what that means. You set yourself in a high seat. But for those who gather, whether it be through word or in flesh, through video or through street teaching, we walk and exemplify the second commandment. That's a physical action. Heavy, man. And it's not just by hearing a word, but it's doing of the word. Heavy. Proverbs 11:14 again. Where no counsel is, the people fall. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. See, we have that within the New Testament, the gospel, the new covenant. But some, again, have removed themselves and have sought out their own high seat. See, this is heavy, man. And there's a crown placed upon that, man. As the brothers brought out, man, posting scriptures, man. Beautiful, beautiful understanding of concepts and contexts, man. Like the book of Sirach, chapter 19, verse 5. And we have that same understanding in Revelation, man. Matter of fact, let's get the Revelation verse first so you can understand the concept, all right? The book of Revelations, chapter 3, and I start at verse 10, man. The book of Revelations, chapter 3, verse 10. Matter of fact, I start at verse 9 for context, which goes back to Revelation chapter 2. Revelation 3 and 9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews, and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. See, this is double fold. These are talking about those who are outside of that covenant, or those who are heathen in flesh and spirit, but also speaking about those who come against their own brother, who have hated their own brother. Because you're an adversary against what God says. That's what Satan means. You're an adversary with what he preaches and says. Because you deny this brotherhood. Therefore, you deny Christ and you deny God himself. And just as Joseph's brothers came and worshiped before his feet during a time of tribulation, therefore we will have some of our own brethren who will do such like manner and shame. Verse 10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation. And that's because we have that safety net that's mentioned in Proverbs 11:14. In the multitude of counselors, man, we have Hamashiach, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. And men will be tried between that time, man. Men will be tried. Verse 11, behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast. Physical, not just spiritual, but physical. This is double. Hold that fast which thou hast. Hold thine integrity. Keep thy flesh under subjection of the spirit. Hold the testimony fast and live it to the end, man. Just as Stephen did, just as Paul did, just as Moses did. Hold it. That no man take thy crown. Do what? That no man take thy crown. We have that crown of life within us. And we are glory that it may be seen because we exemplify it through the flesh. Heavy, man. And to end this moment, straight to the point, the book of Sirach, chapter 19. Or the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 19. Verse 5. And I pray you understand, man. Kahalal Yahweh, Bahashim, Hamashiach Yahushua, Bahashim Rakah. It's beautiful understanding, man. Heavy, man. Ecclesiasticus, chapter 19, verse 4. He that is hasty to give credit is like minded, and he that sinneth shall offend against his own soul. So this is another context, man. Not being too hasty to give credit. And you have men who have done that, giving credit to those where credit is not due, even when they're not exemplify the things that they preach, which come an offense to their own soul, man. Straight to the point. Verse 5. Whoso taketh pleasure in wickedness. And you have those who teach and who are part of this new covenant that still multiply sins in their flesh. After receiving the gospel, they still multiply more sins in their flesh, man. Heavy. Whoso taketh pleasure in wickedness shall be condemned. You shall be condemned. We don't have this new covenant to continue in fleshly things and then speak behind camera like we doing the thing. We don't have an opportunity, nor do we have to go out here and profess and make show in the flesh about commandments and laws of life when we don't live it. You have to live, eat, and breathe and speak, thus saith the Lord, man. You can't be faulty in one man. That's what he mean in context. If you have left one undone, then you committed sin and all. That's what he meant. This is forcing you to be what? Perfect. Deuteronomy 18:13 is putting you in a place of perfection as he was, which you can do through the law of the Spirit. Heavy, man. Whoso taketh pleasure in wickedness shall be condemned. But he that resisteth pleasures, what? He that resisteth pleasures, what? He that resisteth pleasures crowneth his own life. What crowneth his own life? What crowneth his own life? From the law unto the testimony, the Spirit shall subdue the flesh. And with that, I want to give all praise to Kahalal Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rekah HaKadosh, Shalom Akim. Heavy.